We've actually got a coffee which is just about to come on.
Bring it on,
bring on the coffee. When you're at this level, of course, you get coffee delivered by the anchor in London. You're right. $500 million is what's been raised. Huge names: Qualcomm, Virgin, all the big boys here for OneWeb. So Richard Branson joins me now. So Richard, this conversation, I believe, started on your island, on Necker Island. You got together with Greg Weiland and you discussed this. What was the draw?
Well, most of my time is now spent setting up not-for-profits. This combined the best of both worlds. He gave me this picture of connecting the 3 billion people who were not connected, and he also said, you've got Virgin Galactic, you can help us put the satellites up, and as importantly, as they fall out of the sky in 5 years' time, you can replenish them within 2 hours' notice, and that's something Virgin Galactic can do. So it seemed like a win-win all round, and I was delighted to say yes, and then talked to Qualcomm, and we became the founding shareholders in it. Because
the real sense that I got in there from the CEO of Qualcomm, from you, and will.i.am was in the room, and we had Greg, was... Everybody says things are transformational, but I really got the sense this is both about profit, this is about return on equity, and it's about connecting the far distant parts of the world, and the benchmark is going to be schools. So there is a certain amount of, I suppose, relationship for you in that it's about giving back at a certain level, as well as profit.
Absolutely. I mean, there are, as I say, 3 billion people are unconnected. A lot of them are in the rural communities of India and Africa and other places, and if they can be connected, they can be educated, they can get jobs, they can create their own businesses. So it's tremendously exciting in many, many ways.
Do you think, because one of the first words that jumped out at me, I was in the car coming over here, and it says, delivering affordable broadband access, and that struck me because that's very different to internet.org. That's very different to getting Facebook right in your face. This is about being upfront and honest and saying, look, this is good for the telecoms, it's good for companies like mine, Galactica. I've got the spaceships, I want to make money, the telecoms people. So everybody participates. Who do you think, as well as the end users, who do you think in this business relationship would benefit the most?
I think everybody who's sitting on that platform have got, Airbus are going to help, build the satellites. We're going to help, Virgin Galactic going to help put them up. Hughes may be doing something else. Everybody's contributing something, so everybody makes a little bit out of it. But honestly, the real beneficiary of this is going to be somebody out in an African village or somebody out in an Indian village who would never have had any chance of getting internet access or even a mobile phone. And we all know how that transforms people's lives.
And that does transform people's lives. Let's move the agenda along a little bit. Today, sir, you wrote in The Times, you wrote a letter, you made it very publicly, and you said this is about, of course, Britain's position within the European Union, and David Cameron's, of course, off lobbying in Europe at the moment. And you said, look, we must be in the room to fight for reform and not knocking on the door from outside. So I suppose my question is, in terms of Britain's position within the EU, do you think David Cameron's voice is strong? Is he giving the right message? Do you think he's garnering support, Sir Richard, from what you've seen so far?
I think he is, and I think he's fighting for Britain's interests, and I think he's also fighting for every European country's interests, because I think some of the changes that Britain are going to ask for, I think most European countries will want to have implemented in their countries as well. So. So far, so good. I mean, I've been in business 50 years.
Yes.
The idea of Britain leaving the European Union is terrifying, I think, from Great Britain's point of view, and from businesses throughout Britain's point of view. So, so I thought it was important to speak out, as did a number of other business people.
And a large number of people did speak out, and a lot of significant signatories alongside you. And I think that's one of the many voices. And we'll go through this process over the next year and a half, or we understand.
If I may, I'll just say one other thing on it, and that is,
yes.
When I was a young man, my father had been to war in Europe. My grandfather had, was gassed and been to war in Europe. My great-grandfather had been to war in Europe. And almost every single generation had been to war in Europe. We would never dream that we would be fighting Germany or fighting France ever again. And I think largely it's because we are now one common market. We can travel, we can marry each other, we can live anywhere. And that's something which I think should be emphasised as well. We want we want this wonderful community of people to stay together, united, and not get back into the horrors of past generations.
And that's obviously referring to we're living minute to minute, we're actually living day to day, minute to minute, as to whether Greece will remain within the Eurozone. That's what the news flow is about, Sir Richard. Is that the sort of metaphorical war that you hope does not erupt, that Greece stays within the Eurozone and that Europe gets it right? Is that the right take from what you just said?
I personally would love to see Greece stay within Europe, and I hope sense will prevail and compromise will be reached, and that matter can be settled once and for all. So, we have to cross fingers that, I don't think it can be dragged out much longer, and I think everybody needs to know where they stand, but hopefully within the next 40 hours we'll know where they stand.
Sir Richard Branson, was the coffee good?
Coffee, you make a great coffee.
You see, I have a whole career after this. Sir Richard Branson, well done on OneWeb. We wish you well. Let's see how Galactica goes. Thank you so much for joining us on Bloomberg.